What's up, guys? Welcome to Drinking with Caplo. It's the working title for our podcast today.
Drinking energy drinks with Caplo?
Yeah, we're sponsored by seltzer water and energy drinks right now. I'm not saying their names because we're not really sponsored by them.
I'm gonna say it. Celsius, hit us up.
All right, here you go, Celsius. Hit us up. Because it's gonna be worth your while. My name is Ram. I'm marketing director at Caplo Advisory. And my co-host with me today is Paul Capistran. We like to call him JP. Would you like to give yourself any other props?
Better known as JP Capistran. I'm the CEO and managing advisor for Caplo Advisory. Welcome to our podcast.
Yes, welcome to the podcast. Here, we're going to be doing, what we're going to be doing is making financial plan cool. Making it easy for you to digest and get all the helpful information that you need to learn about, like how to handle your money and stuff. This guy has the qualifications to give you advice, so let's see what advice he can give to Reddit right now. I pulled up a whole bunch of Reddit stories dating back 5 years ago up to now, currently this week. All of these people have financial problems that probably relate to anyone outside here who's watching this video. So
I'd like to say as a disclaimer, these are all hypothetical situations. So
hypothetical situations. I don't know if any of this is real.
Though I'm licensed and would love to give real solicited advice, these are hypothetical situations, just so there's not any incriminating.
Hypothetical.
There you go.
We don't got any haters out there trying to catch on us. At least before we get into this, how long have you been doing what you've been doing?
So I've been a financial advisor just shy of 20 years. It'll be 20 years in January of 2024. I worked for a big box financial company a majority of my career, and in 2020, Caplo Advisory was created. And so we are a creative financial planning firm. We focus on providing traditional and classic avenues of financial planning and wealth management for the common person. This is something that's really big in our practice. We make sure that we give all the tools and all the necessary items to become financially free, but not necessarily make the wealthy wealthier, more for the common individual to become financially at ease, if you will.
Pretty much 99% of the people who are living today. So instead of just the rich getting richer, we're helping everyone play the even playing field in finance. Let's get started on the first story. This is on the Reddit page, Personal Finance. It's by an account named OG Rizzard. That's a funny ass name.
Rizzard or wizard?
Rizzard.
Like Rizza. Okay.
Like
Rizzard.
lizard, but yeah. Riz. Literally 24 hours ago, he's asking for help. Deals with housing. Sell at a loss or rent at a loss. Throwaway here. My wife and kids, currently live in Texas. We're a single income family with myself making $250 to $300K a year. It's a lot of money. It's good for him. We need to move from my job in the next few months, but we purchased a new home in May 2022 for $6,400K with 20% down. Mortgage, taxes, and HOA is $4,850. Current mortgage balance is $501,000. Current rental in our neighborhood is around $4,000 a month. Home is maybe worth $650K now. They're still building in this development right now. If we rent for $4,000 a month, this leaves us paying $850 a month out of pocket and also 1 month's rent to our realtor listing the place. We'd also lose $4,800 a month anytime we're between renters. So $10,200 plus $4,000 a minimum each year. Right now he's calculating about $14,200. At 5 years and at a minimum of $71K in loss, the house would need to appreciate and value to something close to $750,000 to be in the green for a sale, and that's if we can maintain full occupancy in the rental. Our dilemma now is whether we sell at a loss, probably clear around $610 after realtor fees, losing us $30K, or rent at a loss, $1,400, $200 a year at a minimum, and hope that eventually the value of our house exceeds the losses we're taking in rent. The house is in a rapidly gentrifying area with lots of new things going up all around. Has anyone been in this situation before? I'm starting to lean towards selling the house, taking our losses now, and moving on with our life, rather than living with the stress of being a landlord for 5+ years until we can sell the place for profit or break even. Another sticking point is that we will not have lived in the house for 2 of the past 5 years. So if we were to make any profit, we definitely pay capital gains. Any insight would be appreciated. Let me know if there's any more info I need to provide. And he added additional info. Moving for a company that I founded with partners cannot have moving expenses covered, sadly. What are your thoughts on the whole situation?
This is not a unique situation, unfortunately, especially here in Houston. People move here, and right now with real estate being a huge focal point in someone's investment strategy, they think that I'm always going to win when I buy real estate, and that's not the case. In Houston, we're such a big city with a bunch of suburban areas on the outside, and those suburban areas 9 times out of 10 do not appreciate like the properties and the land that is inside proper Houston. And so this happens a lot. My recommendation, especially with what he said at the end, where he would have to pay the capital gains tax because you're not going to be able to have it as a homestead and avoid taxation on the gains. I would take the L on this one. I would, try to sell the house, make as much money as possible, take it as a lesson learned, and try to reevaluate your strategy and make it up on the next investment. Because if you rent that house out, you're going to find yourself in a world of continuous liability. You're going to have to continue to maintain the home, find renters. There's going to be holding costs, your interest rates on the mortgage. It's just, there's too many variables there. I would say sell the house as much as you possibly could and move on with your life. It sounds like he does really well for himself. Whatever industry he's in, he will bounce back, definitely.
Do you think the losing situation was buying the actual home in 2022 when like the peak of the housing crisis was happening in the past 3 years?
I think it's a combination of that and then buying in a newly developed area. Again, when you buy out in the suburban parts of metropolitan cities where individuals are trying to build communities and grow developments, it's very speculative on what's going to happen within that area because you don't know what kind of community is going to be being built, what amenities and other resources are going to be out there over the long term, and it's not a safe play. And so I tell everybody when they look at buying houses in suburban areas, unless there's an incentive there, like a school that they want to go to, or it's close to work, or they have some insight on the area being
on the emotional reason, I want less stress for my life.
Yeah, next big boom. You're taking a big chance when you're buying out in the suburban areas. So, I see this a lot actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Top comment that replied to this guy was rip the Band-Aid off and sell. This is why buying, if you won't be in a local for material amount of time, is the right play. If they're building new homes the same as yours, why would anyone rent yours if they can just buy, unless you're offering a serious discount, which causes you lose more money? And then someone said, to answer your last question for the why would anyone rent your place, it's mortgage interest rate. If the guy who originally bought the house, his interest rate is lower compared to everyone else, like that would probably give them some second guessing, like, well, I could rent because most people would definitely need to rent in my area.
Yeah, but I think that people are starting to really understand that interest rates aren't going back down. Our new norm should be expected to be around 5 or 6%, and so that's just going to cause somebody in the next threshold of income to humble themselves down and realize that this is the amount that I can spend on a house, and then they'll buy that house. Another thing to keep in mind for this gentleman is that if there's a lot of other houses being built in this new developed area, like the other guy commented, why would you think that your house is special? And usually first time developments like that give all kinds of incentives up front. They'll give you like all these packages and buy down your rate and give you moving, closing costs and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would say, like he said, rip the Band-Aid off, take the loss and move on. Like I said, it looks like he does very well for himself from an income standpoint. He'll bounce back for sure.
Cool. That's Reddit story number 1. We're going to go on to something more in terms of our neck of the woods, financing. Let me see.
How many questions are you asking? Because I'm going to get pretty cracked out with this.
I got 5. I got the 5 primary ones. I got the first 5 lined up right now, and then if you run through them really quickly, like a quick, easy workout session, then we can ask more stories. Okay, let's do something more personal. Severe delinquency because of my ex. This guy, I put this story in personal finance. His name is Acceptable Fall 607. He said he went to go get approved for a car today, and my email that came back was shocking. I believe that my credit score was a 710 and in good standing, but now it's a 517 with serious delinquency. Not including all the loan inquiries my ex tried to take out a year ago under my name, this has destroyed my credit. This was all over an Apple Watch that he purchased last year and wasn't making payments. Oh, I think this might be a girl and like a deadbeat ex. Currently, I have no information on the Apple Watch, no idea how to pay it off when it comes to that, or if I can dispute the issue because this is freaking crazy. I'm only 20, so any help would be appreciated because I feel like my life is ruined. What's your take on? She's only 20 and her credit score is already a 517.
Yeah, I think this is a humbling experience for this person, whether it's a male or female. First of all, you should never share finances, credit, lending, any of that with anyone that you are not obligated to do so, right? And that sounds really
Save that for marriage.
yes, well, even that. I mean, a lot of married couples now are still keeping things separate. I mean, your credit is your credit. It can be destroyed in an instance by anybody else. So depending on how important it is to you, I think that should determine whether or not you're looking to put somebody's name on something or allow somebody to buy something under your name. Yeah, this is another thing that happens very common with relationships, especially when they're not married. They're sharing mortgages or car notes or cell phone bills. The cell phone bills are the biggest ones because they get out of the relationship, they have several months on an iPhone or whatnot, and they're like, hey, peace, I'm out. I'm not with you anymore. Like, take care of it. Yeah, or they just don't say anything, and then, like, this girl or individual has the iPhone situation. So, yeah, my recommendation would be, I guess, one, don't do that, and then two, try your best to have a conversation with this individual and beg and plead for them to help you out as much as possible. Call the creditors, explain your situation. Sometimes creditors are very understanding. Sometimes in situations like this, they'll you can deal with them. If it's $1,000 you owe, maybe you can say, hey, this is the situation. Can I pay half of it in payments to get my credit repaired back to where it was? But at the end of the day, you're going to have to make that payment. So
What if he signed it in her name without her knowing? Like he was like,
So if it was fraud, which that's what you're explaining there, then that's a different situation. Then legal matters can be taken into this individual's hands. They can get an attorney and legally go after this person to pay that bill, and also have the attorneys or the legal backing go to the firm. I mean, to the creditors and explain what happened and have it rectified. Um, but it's more common than none. The individual has them there, and it's kind of like a cosign thing, right? Because
yeah,
maybe they don't have credit or they have bad credit.
like babe,
Yeah,
come on, I got you.
Yeah, man,
like,
I've really been wanting this Apple Watch. So don't worry about it, boo. I'll get it for you. You can put it under my account. Like that kind of stuff. So,
Oof.
yeah, just stay away from it with a 100-foot pole. Like, you don't want to share your credit with anybody, not even your family, right? Sometimes that's the worst situation. Helping your parents out, your brother, your sister, your cousins. My I think it was my mom or my father. One of them told me, if somebody comes to you for help, give them the money and don't expect that back, rather than like jeopardizing your own credit or your future.
Or your friendship with them.
Yeah, because it's not going to come back to you. You're not going to get it back. You just give it away as doing them a favor, and just make sure there's an understanding that, like, you're helping them out this one time and not anymore.
My mom told me the same thing too, but it's like an unspoken thing where, like, most people who are asking for money are asking it out of desperation.
Sure.
Because they need to get out of the hole that they're in. And most times when you're digging yourself out of the hole, you're starting on ground level, base level again. Where do you expect to get your money back that you help fix up their situation, like, immediately? So, like,
yeah, perception is everything. A lot of times people see you and not understanding your particular financial situation. They think, oh, you're good. He's good. She's good. I'm going to go to them to help me in my desperation. But in reality, like right now, everybody's hurting, right? So just because you may look on the outside like everything is good, everything may not be. So it's important to never let somebody borrow anything. If you're going to give them something, give it to them with the understanding, like, hey, you're not going to get it back. Yeah. And a lot of times it's better to do that because that person more than likely will not come back to you because they'll realize like, damn, I still owe that,
Yeah.
Ram $1,000. I don't think I'm gonna be able to ask him again. Let me go ask somebody else. So.
That's if saying like if they have morals still, because if they feel shame about it, like, at least, like, all right, they have a good heart, they feel bad about it, but like, if someone repeatedly comes after you, yo, can I borrow another 20? I was like, bro, you don't feel embarrassed about
It's
that?
usually like $20 and less. If they ask you for $20 and less, they're gonna repeatedly come back. If they ask you for like, hey man, I'm in a financial situation, I need $300 or $400, they probably won't come and ask you for more if you do them that favor. But yeah, that cousin that comes to you is like, hey man, you got $10 on you, like that's gonna happen. You just gonna have to learn how to tell
You
that
set
person.
up a budget in your monthly budget, like, all right, my cousin's coming over every 15.
Yeah, it
let me
depends
give
on
him
how
$10.
important they are to you. Yeah, definitely. Either set up a budget or just learn how to tell them no. Like block them on your phone, and then they won't be able to get a hold of you.
All right. This person 3 years ago, height of the pandemic. All right, so bought a house in March. That's crazy. We realized we can't affordably save and live modestly while living here. What do we do? That's their big concern. This dealing with their housing and their context is my wife and I bought a house in March 2020 with a VA loan, 30 years for about $400,000 at an interest rate of 2.875%. Our mortgage payment is around $1,975 per month, and we currently have no issues making this payment. Our dilemma, due to a number of circumstances, including my wife's high-paying but incredibly stressful job, she's basically killing herself day in and day out, our long-term plans for savings, us trying to have children, and realize we bit off a bit more than we can chew. We realize to acquire a lot of these things, we need to live in a more modest home with a cheaper mortgage. Well, what do we do now? Our house is written in value to roughly $5,000 more than what we owe. We considered trying to sell it as soon as possible. While the market is great in this area, who knows what will happen in the economy and market at this point? This is in 2020 that they're asking this, so I want to know how that worked. But after considering what we'd have to pay 6% for realtor fees, we would end up coming out pretty significantly behind, which would eat heavily into our savings. Advice, question mark? I guess my question is, what should we do? Currently, we settled on trying to make this work as long as we financially can. If we can make it 3 to 5 years into this house, will we have paid off enough of the mortgage to recoup our closing costs and still walk away with some profit? But this is assuming the market doesn't fall apart. Is a smart thing to do to try and sell, wait? And if wait, how long should we wait? TLDR, too long didn't read. We bit off more than we can chew with our mortgage. We can afford it, but it's not working how we like. If we sell now due to realtor fees, we would come out behind, but there's also putting less into savings and not living the best way we possibly can. What's the best course of action?
There's two types of being house poor. There's these individual situations where they bit off more they can chew. They're barely able to make ends meet. They're held to their job and their current financial situation where if they don't work, they can't pay the bills and they'll probably lose their house. In this particular situation, I would say that just like the first incident, they need to sell the house. They need to take that $5,000 or $7,000 loss, find something that's more feasible for them on a monthly basis so that they can actually enjoy life. We have one life. You don't want to spend 15, 20, 30 years, barely making ends meet to have a home that's not really appreciating in value. Now, on the other side, the second type of being house poor is when you have a solid investment. Maybe you have a house that you got into, you bit off a little bit more than you can chew, but the money that you're putting into that house is showing through appreciation and through the elevation of that area, and knowing that every year that house value is going up and up. In that particular case, then we can find strategies and resources to help that individual out so they can keep the home knowing that there's a lot of equity and continuous equity built. The long term is going to pay out. That can be their retirement. That can be their college savings.
But they need money
kids.
Now to eat their next dinner plate inside that next home.
So if they want to, it's advisable at that point. Like, do you want to make these sacrifices for the next 5 years? Work hard. All the money goes to the house, and then you have a plan to sell it. At that point, we would talk about maybe keeping the home and finding a way to do it. But in this instance with this particular question, I would say they need to sell. Stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. Scale back. Find a house that's modest that you can afford. You can have kids. You want to enjoy that time with your kids. You don't want to be stressed out all the time about having to cover the mortgage and the payments and just eating away a lot as you got into something that you shouldn't.
Cool. So that's the first part. Second part is people are like, well, there's not a lot of information you give us about like why you can't afford to live here. So he says, per the thread's request, our full budget on a monthly basis. This is what they're saying. The mortgage is $1,975. Cellular phone is 100. Internet is 75. We live in a rural area, not a lot of options. Utilities come out to average 225. Auto insurance for 2 vehicles is $75. A car loan is for $315. Adobe software $29.99. Fuck them. I hate Adobe. Just let me buy all at once and I'll be happy.
Why would they do
I know. School loan $120. Spotify $16. Netflix $14. Wife's drum music classes $150. YouTube TV $71. Animals, I'm guessing they're pets, $100. Gas $100. Savings, they put away $1,000 a month. Church tithing $500. Groceries $200. We don't spend much on groceries. Eating out $600. Clothing, they spend on average $200. And home improvement and shopping is $300. Side project attempts to make extra income is $160. Total expenses is $6,995. And they say apparently their total income together is $8,400. What do you think of their situation or how they thinking they're in trouble?
Yeah, this is really like puts things in perspective. One, they're living a very regular life. There's not anything in there that's too dramatic on one sector of the budget. And two, if your expenses are 7 with saving $1,000 a month, and then you have another $1,000 to do at your discretion, I don't see how they're struggling here. This is I'd be interested to know what they mean by struggling.
Is this like in their mental kind of thing? Because they don't think they can afford kids or save up for a new house with their budget.
Well, they're gonna have to scale. They have plenty of room in the budget to scale back, right? When you have kids, you stop going out to eat. You start cooking at home. You start shopping at Costco. Your extracurricular activities are gonna downsize because you're just not gonna have the time. That's just the reality of having kids. So I think there's plenty of movement in the budget to have kids and be able to live in that home. Again, I think maybe their skepticism is the lack of appreciation in the house. I don't know. And then we go back to the interest rate. I mean, a VA loan is phenomenal. They didn't get into that house with maybe just a couple of $100 or $1,000 down. VA loans are very, very enticing for our veterans, and they don't spend much to get into a home. And you got a 2.89 interest rate. At the end of the day, I would be interested to see what that house would rent for. I mean, if your payment's $2,000 on a $400,000 home, I'm sure you could probably get maybe a lot more than that in rent to cover that home and find you something else.
Yeah.
Maybe get another VA loan. So, yeah, that's interesting. I to see how or why they think that they're struggling there.
First thing a lot of people point out is that the church section of their budget is like oddly high for
Nah,
$500.
look, man. Look, I've been doing this a long time. People that pay church tithes, that's what they do. You can't convince somebody to pay less. It's a certain percentage of what they make annually that goes to the church, and there's nobody that can change that expense for them. I've tried.
You try whenever you see like a high number,
Yeah,
extra
absolutely.
zero.
Yeah, it's usually like 10% of their annualized income, and that's their faith and that's what they believe in. So that's the last thing that you try to alter on an expense sheet. Yeah, again, I've tried it many times. I'm a man. Well, I don't give 10% of my money to the church.
Yeah.
But other
people do.
religions believe in that, and that's what they stick with.
So that's usually the hardest
That's
part,
definitely
surprisingly.
the hardest. Definitely the hardest to convince somebody to cut that back.
Cool. I think we have room for one more. Let's see what we got here. Let's see.
By the way, I have to say that I like the feel of this. I was a little disappointed that Jocelyn wasn't going to be the interviewee here, and
She's behind the camera right now.
Okay.
She was like really nervous yesterday, and then she called me today like, I can't do it. And I was like, I got you. We can work out this podcast.
Be on the next
one. Let's see. Another VA loan. Okay, so this guy, Shark Kite 66, he says he has a 2 to 5 year plan. Includes a car purchase and a VA home loan. How does he proceed? He says, I'm in a good situation, living with my folks, saving every little penny I can. I have no debt. In less than 2 years, I'm buying a new vehicle. I'm passing my current one down to a relative who's coming to driving age. The vehicle I'm looking at would be a new vehicle, so very low maintenance issues and will last long term. I'm budgeting anywhere between 30 to 45K. By the time I'll have most, if not all of that in cash from many of my bonds and CDs, maturing, car loans can be brutal, although that can be a little bit better at the credit union or bank. My initial thought as I budget and plan out the purchase is to pay it all or mostly in cash. That would wipe out most of his cash flow when he does that, but he's not confident with the amount of cash he has to put down for a home. Thankfully, he's a veteran. I have opportunity to use a VA home loan, which you can do for as little as $0 down. Obviously, I should and will do more than $0 down to avoid some interest, but coming in with very low cash as a down payment is a plus for me in this scenario. I wonder though, is it better to have even more cash down on the home and be paying a car payment instead? Mortgage and car payment, I feel like would it be worse than just one, even if the mortgage is more long term. Obviously, in 3 years, the housing market and car market maybe will look way different. So I don't want to glean too much from today's prices, but at least give it a bit of a baseline. The crux of my question is, well, if the opportunity to put down as little as $0 for a home and a VA loan, is it better to buy the car in cash or have car payments as you go into buying a home and put more cash down on the home?
First of all, if this is going to happen in the near future, car loans are extremely brutal right now, and they're taking full advantage of that. It's kept me and my family from we lease cars, and we try to do it every 3 years just because we utilize them through the business. But it's horrible the amount of interest for great credit that they're charging. So that's the first thing I would say is, if it's in the near future, he's gonna have to battle with that. Secondly, if you go back to like the Dave Ramsey or the traditional way of planning, no one likes to carry a car note, a high interest payment on a depreciating asset. There's no reason that a car should ever be looked at or seeked as an investment. So personally, in this particular situation, I would put as minimum down on the house, take advantage of that VA loan. I would probably put some money down to get me a car payment that was affordable and comfortable for me, where I wouldn't be in a situation where I was, having to scale back much on my personal lifestyle. And then with the extra money that he was anticipating on paying the car off, maybe put that into some sort of investment. I think the VA also gives good opportunities on like investment loans and different things they can get, special exceptions they make on them as veterans. So I would definitely use that money to try to make more money off of that, and then putting that down on a full payment to pay off a car that as soon as you drive it off the lot, it's going to depreciate, and you're not going to get that back. Um, Me personally, I'm a big advocate of leasing vehicles. I know some people think, oh, you're just renting a vehicle, you're gonna have a car payment the rest of your life. But the reality is, you're always gonna have a car something the rest of your life. Even if you pay off your car, you're gonna have car maintenance, car issues. You have to trade in the car. You have to buy a new car. A car is just a thing to get you from point A to point B. So I never advise putting all of your money into purchasing, one vehicle or any vehicle for that matter.
If you already have a vehicle, just keep it.
Just keep it, drive it until you can't drive anymore. Now, some people like cars. Some people work to have nice cars, and that's respectable. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think in this guy's situation, I would put as little money as I could down on a VA loan, put as much money as I need to put down to get my payments where I need them to be, where I live comfortably, and then use the rest of that money to invest in some sort of strategy, whether that's real estate or something that he's into. But yeah.
And so you would recommend for him to lease a car instead of buying a new car.
He can still buy it. Whatever makes most sense on the payment. I don't know what his budget looks like or what he's able to afford a month. It sounds like he just doesn't want to have a payment. He just wants to have a mortgage. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Are they both the same? Like if he chose one or the other, like I'd rather pay payments on my car or I'd rather pay more expensive payments on my mortgage.
Well, the thing is, like, unless he's gonna buy down rates, if you're talking about 20 or 30,000 on your mortgage, I don't think that's gonna significantly drop your monthly payment. Especially unless you're buying $100,000 home, which is really hard to find now. At the same time, you'll have that equity in your home, but I don't think you're gonna see a significant difference. It's not like you're gonna have like $1,000 or $2,000 less in payment,
Okay.
on the mortgage. So yeah, that'd be interesting to sit down and strategize with them. But I definitely wouldn't buy the car cash. That's for
Cool.
sure.